This guy's a presidential historian, our former colleague at KGO Radio. He is an author, a lecturer. He comes through on Wednesdays. How about it for John Rothman? Sorry to keep you waiting, sir. Good to see you.
Always a pleasure.
So much going on. So, John, maybe you have a thought as to where these tariffs, now on a 90-day pause, leave America, particularly in relation to the continuing trade war that apparently has been begun and escalated with China.
Oh, you mean with the peasants? That's what the vice president of the United States called the Chinese, the peasants. And I don't know if you've monitored the reaction in China. It is the #1 news story, and they are absolutely furious, as they should be. Look, I have to be blunt with you. I think what we're seeing in Washington is complete chaos. I think this president is completely out of control. I think what he's doing is wrong. I was absolutely appalled that the United States Senate would not vote for a resolution reasserting the congressional control over tariffs, which is unprecedented in American history. I think that the fact that the Republicans have done this leave them extremely vulnerable, and they're afraid. They're afraid that if Trump fails, they'll be knocked out of Congress and out of the White House for another 20 years, as happened after before the Eisenhower victory in '52. So I have no sympathy for what's happening, and the silence of the Republicans is most distressing. Let me point out that 4 key people in the Internal Revenue Service have resigned in the last 24 hours. Here we are on the verge of tax season. We have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm throwing all this out, so I hope it sticks, finally saying something nice about vaccines, but he doesn't really mean it, and it's very clear he doesn't mean it. The question of fluoride in water, can you believe this is being re-debated by Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? I mean, it is, you talk about March Madness, I'm talking about Trump madness, because that's exactly what we're in.
I want to say something about, I don't want to get up in a whole thing because I don't really know much about it, and maybe you know more than I do. But I will say something about fluoride in water, because I'm actually not into them adding anything in the water. I don't know why we add fluoride in water. I don't believe that they should add.
Why.
No, go ahead. Tell me. I like that we have an argument early. Go ahead.
It's not an argument. It was tooth decay. And you may remember a congressman from Southern California, James Ott, who in the 1960s said we should eliminate fluoride from water because it's causing all these diseases and disasters and all the rest. But it isn't the issue of fluoride. It isn't even the issue of vaccines.
No, I'm on the issue of fluoride, sir. You've stopped me. You interrupted me, and you said, I'll tell you why. It's because of tooth decay. So let me come back at you and say, all right, well, a lot of Americans don't get the vitamins that they need every day. Should we add vitamins to the water also? Fluoride and vitamins? Is that what you'd like to see? What else would you like to see added to the water that you feel Americans aren't getting enough of?
You know, Mark, it's a silly conversation.
Why are you yelling?
With all due respect. and I'm not going to indulge in it.
All right.
I understand because I grew up as you did, because we're about the same age. We grew up in an age when the polio vaccine allowed us to swim during the summer and protected us, when fluoride in the water did a tremendous amount to prevent tooth decay, which was absolutely necessary, in which vaccines in general changed the course of our history, including the measles vaccine. I'm not going to indulge in anything more or less.
Let me just say this.
Yeah.
I believe RFK Jr. is a dangerous guy. He shouldn't be running that agency.
We agree.
I not only believe in vaccines, but I need to go get the pneumonia vaccine. I need to get the shingles vaccine. These are things I just had conversations yesterday with my pharmacist about getting it on the schedule. So I have no issue with that. But on the fluoride, I do pull it out. I do carve it out because I think it's insanity. I don't believe.
Look, I'm not going to debate it with you.
I know you're not. So let me finish my thought. If you're not going to debate it, then let me finish what I'm saying.
Why are you yelling?
I just don't want to embarrass you.
No, how dare you say
Why are you
that?
yelling?
I'm embarrassing you, sir. I take back that embarrassment. It bounces off of me and bounces onto you. My point is simply this. I want water. I want pure water.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anything added to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a board of governors to decide what's added to the water, regardless of what it is.
Good.
That's full stop.
Good.
Now,
I believe in water purification. You may not, but that's the reason why disease is down and our water is better.
Well,
I mean,
you're okay. You're all over the road on this. I mean, you're saying you
no,
don't want to
no, I'm
debate.
being
You're
very
saying you don't want to
precise.
debate you don't want to debate it, and then you debate it. You with these little remarks
Well,
that you're making.
I'm simply following up on the ludicrous remarks that you just made.
What was ludicrous that I said?
That you question the question of clean water. Let
Yeah.
me assure you, we have clean water today because of the kinds of actions which have been taken.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm
so-
talking about, first of all, by the way, we don't have.
Let's leave.
First
it
of all, we
aside.
don't have clean water, and it's getting less clean
I
by
live in
the
San
hour.
Francisco,
It's
where we have
because getting.
Hetch-Hetchy water. You couldn't ask for better water in any place in the world.
That's exactly right. All that is a great pure source of water, and then we add stuff to it. I guess fluoride among the things that we add, which makes no sense to me. All right, now,
Ask your dentist. Go ahead.
Of course, I mean, your dentist is gonna be all for fluoride. I get it. I'm
ask
not.
Your dentist
ask a neutral party.
Reasons.
Well, just ask me. Do you want water, or do you want this water plus this other stuff that we've added? I mean, again, let's add vitamin C. Let's add vitamin C to the water. We all need vitamin C. Okay,
it's a non-starter as an equation. So do your fluoride research, and then we can debate it.
No, you do your fluoride research.
I have.
Okay, then tell me if let's get into it. You say you're playing me off like I don't know what I'm talking about, and that I object to that.
The issue is Donald Trump. The issue is what's happening in
you're
this
trying to throw me off the scent. Don't insult me by saying I don't know this issue and then throw in Trump. Now, John, do you want to talk about fluoride? Because I do know about it. Do you want to talk about it? Okay, then
I go back to the days of Congressman Utt when we had these great debates in Southern California.
How it ended up in the water isn't the point, John. I don't think anything should be added to the water. You should get water that's pure from Hetch-Hetchy.
We'll respectfully disagree. Go ahead.
Okay, now we'll get on to Trump. Now, the things that bother me about, I mean, you can shake your head, John, but you don't get into it with me. Don't get, again,
I don't have to get into it with you. You're wrong.
No, you're wrong.
I know. Yes.
Why do you want anything added to the water? Why do you want anything added to the water? I want water, pure water. Gosh, Kim, where are you when I need you? All right, so.
She's concerned about her children, and she wants fluoride in the water. That's why.
Well, I mean, again, okay. So let's talk about Trump, and let's talk about this pause. He's got a pause now on this tariff, these ridiculous tariffs that he's imposed across the board. And again, tariffs can be useful if they're targeted, but this across-the-board tariff that with the lunatic way in which he did this computation to come up with the actual tariff numbers, it's absurd. No one can explain it. No one can explain legitimately how we got
I made a
numbers.
suggestion which is now being discussed in Washington. The Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee have nothing to do because they're the minority. So I said, prepare articles of impeachment, substantive argument with each item so that when the day comes, the record is clear. So the Democratic Party enumerated the problems. We have a situation now where a Trump-nominated judge has now said that what he tried to do to the Associated Press is unconstitutional. When a president of the United States violates the Constitution, there is redress, and that redress, very simply, is impeachment. Now, I know the Democrats don't have the votes. I know that while Jim Jordan is chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, but I'm saying create a record, campaign on that record, and I believe Donald Trump and the Republicans in the midterm elections will suffer massive defeat.
Yeah, this does look as though it's a huge political price that will be paid. And I think that's one of the reasons that you're seeing a lot of pushback in Washington from those Republicans to whom you've referred. They are not happy with what he is doing. And he seems to be, on one level, unmoved by all of that. But on another, when I see him pause these tariffs for 90 days, I'm wondering, is it the political or is it the financial, seeing the markets just fall off a ledge?
Both. When you have this kind of drop, can you imagine if Joe Biden had been president and there had been this kind of collapse in the stock market? And by the way, the reinvigoration today, because the tariffs are removed, should, for a period of time, should explain to everyone the concern of people who are involved in American investment. And imagine what the world is thinking. We are a laughingstock. Not only that, we're a danger to the world. And by the way, you buy your Christmas decorations from China, What do you think China's going to do now in terms of charges for Christmas decorations? Think of everything you have in your closet that is made in China: shoes, clothes, Christmas decorations. The backlash on this is going to be considerable. And may I say that I also worry about what the Chinese are doing in relation to Taiwan. The increasing pressure on Taiwan. Anything can happen. And the last thing we need is an international crisis of that kind. Donald Trump's foreign policy is incompetent and is creating damage. And look, even among his key advisors now, they're calling each other names in public. This is no way to conduct an administration. This is no way to conduct things. You know what? We ought to add fluoride to their water.
So, because you touched
maybe a
on,
truth serum, a truth serum would make more sense.
You touched on Taiwan, and there is a sense that both Iran and Taiwan can be identified as areas of potential hot conflict.
No question.
And I'm wondering, as Netanyahu met with Trump in the White House, and I'm sure Netanyahu at some level is nudging the U.S. to try to intervene with Iran to try to either go after their nukes, which are being developed, or their nuclear plant, which is now, it's way underground, as you know, John. I mean, it's so far underground, it's suggested that bunker buster bombs couldn't even get to it. I wonder if you can speak to both the potential, if you will, of a hot war in Iran that the U.S. might be involved in, and one in Taiwan.
Well, let's deal first with Iran. There is no question that military action against Iran is being planned. There is no question that American forces are being repositioned. You can look it up right now and see it. I believe that the situation with Iran is escalating. That is not a good sign. And the negotiations which are taking place now are not real negotiations. And the Iranians understand that. So we'll have to see whether Iran caves or not. But they will not give up their nuclear capability. And I think that's very clear. As for Taiwan, the Taiwanese are scared because what is happening now with China, in a sense, liberates the Chinese leadership on the mainland to try to create distractions, to try to create situations. And Taiwan is the natural spot. You may know that the ability of the Chinese government to antagonize Taiwan is increasing on a daily basis. I can go into it in great depth if you want, but the point being that these are major international crises coupled with the economic crisis. And you will note that the EU today announced that they were going to impose sanctions as well. Now, will they delay the sanctions? It's a very good question. But I would only point out to you that these are the issues of grave concern. And I don't want to distract or detract from what's going on here in the United States. The whole question of the measles epidemic, which is broken out and which Robert Kennedy has so completely fumbled, is another issue that needs to be addressed. But the part of the problem is that Donald Trump throws a lot of stuff out. And how do you focus on the important terms and issues? As long as he's able to distract the American people with another shiny object, we're in trouble. The thing that bothers me, and you summed it up very well, and I appreciate that Donald Trump is acting like a king. He's not acting like a president. And the fact that there is no opposition from Republicans in Congress, again, I repeat, if Joe Biden were president and were pulling the kind of stuff that Donald Trump is pulling, the Republicans would have been up in arms. This should not be a partisan matter. This should be a complete, clear violation of balance of powers. May I also make a comment about the courts? The Supreme Court now comes down to two people in terms of what's going to happen on many of these issues: Amy Coney Barrett and the Chief Justice John Roberts. They will be the swing votes as to whether it'll be a 5-4 decision or not. And I believe that Chief Justice Roberts is conscious of his place in history and is concerned greatly about the Roberts Court being discredited or surrendering power. And so I'm watching now all these cases that are coming to the courts. The fact that the AP probably will not be admitted to the White House until there is an appeal is very disturbing to me. And it is a violation, according to the judge, of the Constitution. of the
Right.
First Amendment.
First Amendment. Just on this point, though, you mentioned Roberts, and in the context of him being concerned with his reputation, but he did take that emergency case involving the young man who was deported to that El Salvadoran prison. Turns out isn't a gang member, probably. I mean, this has to be, again, it should have been adjudicated. It should have been cleared up. But it would appear by all the journalistic research that's been done around this guy, and this is one of three that we know of, but there may be more. There may be as many as 70 who are not actual gang members, okay? But in any case, let's just talk about the case that Roberts was charged with handling in an emergency session. He did, on a jurisdictional basis, I mean, John, you know this stuff so well, on a jurisdictional basis, he allowed the Trump administration more time before they had to bring this kid back. I wonder, and so now this will be, the can is kicked down, the legal can is kicked down the road, and now this will be handled in another court and then maybe kicked back up to SCOTUS. Meantime, this kid, if he's even still alive, is languishing in this prison. Can you speak to that, John Roberts?
It's a disgrace. And by the way, the other thing that's a disgrace, and all of you who listen to this program know I'm a Zionist, been very active in pro-Israel activities, the idea of the suspension of visas by students who are accused of supporting a particular political position. They aren't terrorists. They're supporting a political position, by the way, which I disagree with profoundly. But would I deport people? The fact that the Supreme Court of the United States has yet to rule on these questions is of profound concern. What Donald Trump is doing is ripping at the very fabric of democracy. And when I say it, I really mean it. And I think this is another example. But yes, to deport somebody, now you'll notice the Supreme Court in its decision did insist that any future deportations, the people who are deported have the right to appeal. Now, how will Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, react to that? Frankly, you have to remember that Bondi and Vance and the Solicitor General of the United States and others have said they don't care what the court says. They're going to do what they want to do. That's the president's job, is to protect the country, pure and simple. That kind of language is, to me, the greatest danger to American democracy that we could ever face. So my answer is, and I apologize to you on the fluoride thing, we get distracted on an issue which is not nearly as important as these issues, and they're not being raised properly. No question about it. That's why I support the Mark Thompson program.
Well, no, we're allowed to run around the schoolyard on various issues, even if they don't rise to the top 5.
Yeah, but if we don't stop running around,
let me finish on my own show, John.
Why are you yelling?
I'm just saying we're allowed to digress and discuss some of these things that are brought up, even though they don't rise to the level, as you suggest, of the 5-alarm fire that is going on with the top 5 issues, we might say.
And I would say to you that if we run around the schoolyard on these issues, we will lose sight of what is really important, and the real issues will be lost in the storm and fury and ignorance with which we are faced.
I mean, you can maybe so. I mean, I think you can do both. You can handle.
Yeah, okay.
Issues.
I'll concede the point. No point in arguing it. It just takes up more time.
Let's argue about what we should argue about. How dare you argue about the fluoride thing when we should be arguing about the SCOTUS thing?
You're going on vacation for what? How long are you going? 3 weeks?
I'm going. No.
So, but
Not
the field
3
is
weeks.
clear.
Okay. I'm going for a couple days.
And Albert will control the whole situation. Don't worry about a thing.
Who is having that conversation?
All right. John, we love you. I'm so glad that you came through. I appreciate it.
Do me a favor. The next time you drink a glass of water, swish it around a little bit. I want to make sure your dental hygiene.
Oh, John, I'm telling you, you're so wrong on this. Look, I'm not. I told you. The problem is you got the wrong ambassador for this question with RFK Jr. I mean, he's just such a train wreck. All right. Find John through his website. It is through his podcast. It's a daily podcast. And you should check it out. It's called Around the Political World with John Rothman. And the other thing you should do is read his musings in the voicesf.com.
That's also
.org, I think. The voicesf.org. Yeah.
That's also a podcast. Each podcast is 10 minutes every day. And whether you agree or disagree with me, the one last point I'd like to make is the fact that Mark and I can have this kind of vigorous discussion and he can be wrong and I can be right, or vice versa, is a testimony to the fact that we
There's
need
really
to be,
no history where I've been wrong and you've been right, but it's
that
good that
we
you're right. Just in an academic way, it's
he's
good that you
always
reference it.
interrupting me, and it's his show. I just want to point out that it is this vital conversation which should be taking place in a place where you can participate actively, and that is the tragedy of there being no talk radio. And by the way, I've been listening to the right-wing talk radio that now is on the 810 dial. All I can tell you is I suffer from low blood pressure, and all it does is stimulate me, escalate my concerns. But these are all issues. I'm going to see Mickey Luckoff tomorrow, by the way.
Luis says nobody knows who the hell Mickey Luckoff is anymore, but give him my best. I do know him.
That's what I was going to say. I'm going to give him your best.
Okay, thank you very much. Luis, Professor Rothman, what is it going to take for Republicans to part ways with Trump? I love it when Rothman comes through. I have so much fun with him. 500 children dying from measles, polio, other once-gone illnesses, citizens banished to Salvadoran prisons. When will the Republicans part ways with Trump? Never, says Luis. What do you think? What will it take?
I think when a president of the United States pushes the envelope too far, there is concern. And you can see the beginning of cracks among Republicans right now. And I think that, Mark, is our hope. The courts and the reaction of the American people, that's what's going to change the direction. What is tragic is that then the Republican Party will have to rebuild. And unfortunately, they've sold their soul. I just reread The Devil and Daniel Webster. Once you sell your soul, you've got a problem regaining credibility. And I think the Republican Party today has that problem, and is going to be a long-term problem. I didn't talk at all about Cory Booker and his 25-hour extravaganza on the floor of the United States Senate. It didn't accomplish much, but what it did do was for a few minutes to focus attention on a place other than Donald Trump. And the Democrats are going to have to be able to raise these issues. And I call again for the House Judiciary Committee, the Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee, create the indictment of Donald Trump in a logical, legal fashion, pointing out all of the things, not just a few things you and I have covered, but all of the things that Donald Trump has done. When it's in writing, when people can see it, when they can hear it, I think it will make a huge difference in terms of the midterm election. And the midterm election is where we have to put all our energy.
Well, I'll put that off to the side. I totally disagree with you on that. I just don't think that.
I know you do. It's okay. That's why I raise it.
All right. All right.
If I want to run around the schoolyard with somebody, it might as well be you.
Ask John Rothman, says Phineas J. Whoopi, about Trump enacting martial law on 420 and what can we as citizens do. Let me ask you seriously about the imposition of this of some kind of a kissing cousin of martial law. He's already enacted this national emergency. That's how he has the power to levy these tariffs. But this national emergency is not legitimate. All right. So
no, it isn't. It's not a national emergency, and we all know it.
So might he, with again suspect legitimacy, do something to derail the midterms, let's say, or the coming political storm if he sees it in the elections ahead?
No, he cannot suspend midterm elections. This was discussed once seriously in American history. That was in 1942. America had gone to war. Question of whether we should have midterm elections. There was a formal proposal that maybe we should suspend them. And I'm glad to tell you that Sam Rayburn, and the Democratic leader in the House, and Joe Martin, the Republican leader in the House, got together and said, no, we're going to go ahead with elections. And I believe the fact that Donald Trump affirmed today in his statement that midterm elections will be held and he expects a massive victory. That applies, by the way, to the third term. Let me reassure everybody, he cannot constitutionally run for a third term under any circumstances. And even a Republican congressman introducing a resolution in the House, which happened the other day, asking for a third term, you'd have to amend the Constitution. It isn't going to happen. And I'm not worried about that. I tell you what I am worried about. I'm worried about J.D. Vance, whose irresponsible comments about Chinese peasants, which really should be something we focus on, and Haitians eating cats and dogs. I mean, this is the kind of irresponsible language. You know what's stunning to me? It makes my old friend Spiro Agnew look good. And I'm not a nattering.
Was he really? Wait a minute. Was he really your old friend?
Yes. And
You
I'm not,
literally, you were a friend of Spiro
well,
Agnews.
I knew him pretty well, but I want to assure you, I am
that's a
I am
bad
not-
brag.
I am not a nattering nabob of negativism.
Yeah, that was his line. Adrian Foster says, I like the homage to the late Len Tillum. Sayonara. There you go.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, how about that? Thank you
God
for
bless, if
the
anybody
super chat,
remembers Len,
Adrian.
but I sure do, and
Yeah.
so do you.
Yeah. John, best wishes to you.
When is your vacation?
I'll be gone Friday, I think. And then I have a longer vacation end of the month. Kim has kind of kept track of it.
Well, thank God the show will be in capable hands.
Kim has things well in hand, and we'll bring in a cavalry as well. But you're great. We love your visits and look forward to Around the Political World with John Rothman.
When you drink that water, swish it a little more. It'll ensure your dental health.
I'd say don't swallow it. All right. See you later, John Rothman, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.